I've projected out every fantasy relevant player in the NFL for the 2025 season, including over 125 wide receivers. There are 5 rookie wide receivers that fall into the top 42 of my seasonal projections. We're going to get into them right now, a full breakdown. All right, the running back rookie projections episode was popular, got really good feedback. So I decided, let's get into it here. There's 5 wide receivers that project out in the top 42. So I'm going to go ahead and break them down in depth one by one here. If you want to see my full seasonal projections, again, every fantasy relevant player, I have just updated them today based on week 1 preseason performance. They get updated about weekly. The link for that will be in the episode description. It's just $5 a month. On top of the projections, you get rankings, personalized advice in the Discord, and a whole lot more. Without further ado, though, let's get into my top projected rookie wide receiver, and that is Tetairoa McMillan. And I am even more excited about McMillan coming off of the week 1 performance for Bryce Young. Bryce Young finished the season very well in 2024. It really was a tale of 2 seasons with Bryce Young. Before week 10, it looked absolutely lost. We thought Alabama Bryce Young was gone. But past week 10, we started to see some really nice improvement from Young. And then in weeks 12 to 14, it really clicked. 65% completion rate, 612 passing yards, and 7 touchdowns with 0 interceptions over that 3-game span towards the end of last season. Carolina clearly is excited about him as well. They invested top 10 NFL draft capital in Tetairoa McMillan, my wide receiver 1 from this year's past draft class, easily in a tier of his own in my rookie rankings. So it makes sense. I'm excited for him. The reason that I find projections to be so important is because when you plug a player into an offense, you really do learn a lot about their fantasy value. I know that sounds so obvious and simple, but the vast majority of folks are making fantasy decisions without looking team by team at the projections. And when you look at this Carolina offense, you see that there is not a ton of returning production. Xavier Leggett, 49 receptions last season. Adam Thielen, 48 receptions. Now, keep in mind, Thielen missed about 6 games last season. All right, but he's on the sunset of his career. And I know we said that last year, but it's plus 1 year. And then you have Jalen Coker at 32 receptions. And you'll see here, I'm actually pretty excited about Jalen Coker. I have Jalen Coker second highest on this team with 74 targets. I was not super impressed with Xavier Leggett last season. And I think the choice to take Tetairoa McMillan as a top 10 pick the year after you took Xavier Leggett with the 33rd overall pick, I think that says a lot about Xavier Leggett just as much as it does about how they're excited about Bryce Young. And of course that they're excited about McMillan. So McMillan as a college prospect, an effective boundary wide receiver. He's got good athleticism and speed for his large frame. He stretches the field well. He plays over the boundary well. He wins in the deep field well. And so that's why I have his yards per reception at 13.5. That's a good number, folks. That's an exciting number. He's got 8 receiving touchdowns. That feels healthy. That feels safe. If he was in an offense with a quarterback that I was super excited about, I'd probably have him at 12. If he was in an offense with a quarterback I was really worried about, probably have him at 6. So 8 is right in the middle, and it tells you how I feel about Bryce Young. To me, McMillan will be the clear and away top wide receiver on this offense. Keep in mind, they will have a balanced running game with Chuba Hubbard and now some decent running back depth there with Trevor Etienne and Rico Dowdle, who they added through free agency in the offseason. Overall, he comes in at wide receiver 18, 71st overall. I've been getting McMillan a lot in my seasonal drafts, those underdog best balls. I think he's coming at a really good price. I don't think he's coming at this sneaky sleeper price. He's got generally positive feedback across the board. He's not a super controversial guy. And the most important thing, folks, 116 targets. The key, if you're not sure where to go in an offense, the key is to chase volume. And McMillan absolutely will have that volume. Now, I like to put out here a seasonal comparison and then a historical comparison. So for my seasonal comparison, I've got A.J. Brown as wide receiver 17, just before McMillan. And I have Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 19, just after McMillan. So both Brown and McMillan, there's some variance there. They certainly could score higher, a little bit on the low end for both those guys, and McMillan's going to fit right in between them. So a weekly wide receiver 2 for you with wide receiver 1 upside, that's got to be very exciting if you've already taken him in your rookie drafts. And it should be pretty excited if you're looking at him as a mid-round target in those seasonal drafts. Now, I keep rookie data, production data going all the way back to 2018. And what I'm looking for when I draw these comparisons is what player had a similar type of rookie season in the way that they scored fantasy points. Not in play style, but in the way that they scored fantasy points. And when you look at T. Higgins in 2020, you will see a wide receiver that was able to have a good target range. T. Higgins in 2020, he had 108 targets, so pretty similar there. 62% reception, so again, pretty similar there, and 6 touchdowns. So when you look at T. Higgins and the way that you felt about him in 2020, you were excited coming off of that rookie season. I think you're going to be excited coming off of Tetairoa McMillan's rookie season. Now, from McMillan to the next 3 wide receivers, there's going to be a bit of a teardrop. The next 3 guys are going to be back-end wide receiver 3s, and then I've got one more guy that's one more tier down. So 3 total tiers. McMillan was in that first tier. Now let's get into the meat of the episode here with Travis Hunter, the wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And yes, I know he's going to play on both sides of the ball. And initially, I was hesitant on Travis Hunter. I've talked about this a lot, so I don't want to get into it again. So if you're watching all the videos, I tremendously appreciate you. Make sure you're subscribed. I know a lot of folks watching are. I was hesitant at first about the idea of him truly splitting and playing both ways. I thought he'd be mostly a DB. But where I've really landed now that he's on the Jaguars is that Jacksonville and Liam Cohen, they need him to be a wide receiver. Now, last season, Brian Thomas had 133 targets. That was 69 more targets than anybody else on the team. And that next guy up, that was Evan Ingram, who not only is a tight end, but is now off to Denver. So then the next highest wide receiver on the team was Parker Washington. Brian Thomas had 82 more targets last season than Parker Washington. And I like Parker Washington. You can see, I think he's a nice depth type guy in the projections. And it is important, by the way, that I put the full team up. And again, I just want to reiterate, this is just a screen grab from the actual projections. On my seasonal projections that are available to all patrons, link in the episode description, you can go team by team. It's not just overall player. So this is pulled right, and you can see the depth of the wide receiver room. It's not encouraging. I like Parker Washington. I do see a role for Diami Brown, but they need Travis Hunter to be an impactful wide receiver too. They need to throw the ball over 100 times to Travis Hunter. One thing that I thought was really cool, just trying to dig in and find different stats here to understand the change to Liam Cohen. You look at Mike Evans and Chris Godwin last season, they both had a plus 9% catch rate increase compared to their career average with Liam Cohen last season. And again, that's playing with a quarterback that we had a lot of questions on with Baker Mayfield before Liam Cohen got in there. And we have a lot of questions about Trevor Lawrence, another former first overall pick with a lot of talent. It's obviously good for Brian Thomas. He may even see a catch rate increase, even though he had a great rookie season. But I think it's going to really help Travis Hunter. Now, Travis Hunter at Colorado made a reputation with these super athletic, off-target, great catch radius plays. And normally that's not something that gets me super excited because it can be tough for that to translate to the NFL, even if you are, a 6'3", 6'3.5" frame, which Travis Hunter is not. But what is encouraging is I think with Liam Cohen and with Trevor Lawrence, you have, even with Lawrence's flaws, you have a significant increase in quarterback accuracy in catch rate potential for Travis Hunter. So I put him at 68% catch rate. That's pretty aggressive for a rookie wide receiver, but I believe in the offense as much as I believe in the prospect, and that is pushing forward this Travis Hunter projection. So depending on how you're looking at this and how you feel about Travis Hunter, you might be saying this guy is way too high on him or way too low on him. It's tough to be in the middle on Travis Hunter. The key is going to be the touchdowns, right? And I'm playing it a little conservative with the touchdown projection just because you have Brian Thomas there that is going to soak that up. You do have a trio of running backs, at least for now. We'll see if Travis Etienne gets moved. But you got two, and you got Bigsby, and you have Etienne, all who can win at the goal line. And so I could see them leaning a little bit run heavy. So for those reasons, I am a little bit conservative on the touchdown projection for Travis Hunter. But I still expect him to be a week in, week out wide receiver 3. If you only start 2 wide receivers, he's going to be in your flex spot. And he's going to, I'm telling you folks, there's going to be at least 1 3-touchdown game, right? There's going to be one game where he blows up and he's taking over Twitter and we're salivating for his fantasy points. We're infatuated with him. It's going to happen. But I think it's going to average out wide receiver 29, 90 overall. Right. So this is a guy you're drafting in the 7th, 8th round of your rookie drafts. You don't want to draft him in the 4th or 5th round in seasonal only, right? That's too aggressive. But if you're hitting double digits and Travis Hunter's still on the board in terms of the round you're in, you have to go. You have to lean into that upside because it's absolutely there. It's a little bit of a spoiler alert here. He's 1 spot behind DJ Moore, and he's 1 spot ahead of Matthew Golden. Don't stop the video. I'm ready to defend my Matthew Golden love as I have all offseason. You want to look for a point of historical comparison here? How about DK Metcalf? Back in 2019, DK Metcalf was able to be a really impactful rookie wide receiver. He had 100 targets. He had 7 touchdowns. He had 900 yards, so he won in a similar way. The difference is DK Metcalf only had a 58% catch rate. I think Travis Hunter is going to have a much better catch rate. Travis Hunter, I think, is going to have a slightly lower ADOT than DK Metcalf did, but I think that catch rate will more than make up for it. So here it is. I mentioned Matthew Golden, not everybody's favorite. I've been above consensus on Matthew Golden all the way through. He's been a late first-round rookie draft value for me all the way through the offseason, and I've got the gloves on. I'm ready to defend this take once more. So let's look at Matthew Golden in the context of the Green Bay offense. And I understand why folks are just avoiding Matthew Golden, right? Because it's kind of a gross wide receiver room. It's kind of a gross passing offense to invest a lot of fantasy effort into. But folks, where there's variance, where things are gross, that's where we find value. And I think you're going to find value in this offense. Now, it doesn't take much to be the top wide receiver in this offense. Jayden Reed led the team with 76 targets last season. But the year before, it was Romeo Doubs in 2023, and he had 96 targets. Year over year, Jordan Love has looked significantly better, significantly more improved. And I think we could see even another step from Jordan Love this year. But where he really came through last season, and this is it, folks. This is the crux of my argument. So if you hate this, okay, fine. But I think you should hear me out on this. Jordan Love grades out high, and I'm going to use PFF here, looking at the deep ball in particular, 20 yards downfield. Even more important, he grades out at 84.4 with the deep ball over the middle of the field. That's Matthew Golden. I know some folks in your head, you're thinking speedster, you're thinking underneath guy. Folks, I am telling you, the reason that I am so excited, I watched the Matthew Golden tape. I watched the routes. He's a separator. He separates through his routes. He wins over the middle of the field. He's physical over the middle of the field. He wins in traffic. He has great body positioning. I know he's not 225, right? But he's physical, and he wins positioning over the middle of the field. I think it's going to translate to the NFL. And I think it's going to translate to Jordan Love's game. Green Bay has not taken a wide receiver in the first round since the dawn of time. I don't know the actual year. There's a reason that they went for Matthew Golden. It's a fit. It's skill set plus fit. I think it's perfect. I thought it was perfect from draft night. Nobody's agreed with me since, so feel free to put it in the comments and tell me that I'm absolutely wrong. Maybe I will be. We'll circle back to this video. Trust me, I'm going to be circling back to this take one way or another throughout the NFL season, but I'm excited about it. The other point that I think is getting kind of lost in the sauce is the Green Bay running back depth chart continues to be thin. We have Marshawn Lloyd missing time. I mean, Emmanuel Wilson still is the running back too. There's going to be a clear need to emphasize the passing game again this season. But if Josh Jacobs even misses some time, and I know he's been an Iron Man, he's been a grinder, he's been a guy that you could just give him the ball on the ground 200 plus times a season, and he's absolutely good. But if he misses any time, this offense is going to get even more pass heavy. And I'm sorry, I'm not excited about Romeo Doubs. I think that wave is come and gone. Dontavian Wicks, okay, fun, not soaking up the targets. Savion Williams, the other rookie they drafted, you could see I have more rushing potential for him than wide receiver potential. Not sure Christian Watson's going to make the roster. I mean, Mecole Hardman, need I say more? Folks, if Green Bay needs to get it done in the wide receiver game, it's going to be Jayden Reed, but it's going to be Matthew Golden, and I'm going to stick by that take. And you might be thinking to yourself, dude, he hasn't talked about Emeka Egbuka yet. I guess he hates the guy. I don't hate the guy. I actually am very, very excited about Emeka Egbuka. And so I'm going to tell you why I had to wait until wide receiver 4. So the reason for Emeka Egbuka, it comes down to process, right? And when you're doing projections, it's important to, or when you're interpreting projections, it's important to really understand the process behind it. Whenever there's variance, it makes you nervous making projections. And there's just a lot of variance in this Tampa Bay offense, right? You have the Chris Godwin injury. You have Baker Mayfield post Liam Cohen. And I know they're sticking with the philosophy and you got the promotion from inside, but it's not the same, right? And we've seen good Baker Mayfield and we've seen bad Baker Mayfield. And here's the other bit of variance, right? We don't know how they're exactly going to deploy Emeka Egbuka. And that ties, I think, directly into the Chris Godwin injury. I think they're going to use him some inside, some outside. But when you look at Emeka Egbuka and what he was able to do at the college level, low ADOT, closer to the line of scrimmage. But when you look at his skill set and what he's able to do, he does have the skill set to stretch the field a little bit to win along the boundary. And we already saw that in the first preseason game. He made an awesome contested catch along the boundary. So when you have that variance in fit, the variance in offense, there's just a lot of moving pieces. So I have Emeka Egbuka here at wide receiver 34. If he finishes as wide receiver 20, wouldn't shock me at all. If he finishes as wide receiver 40, I'd be a little bit more shocked. I think this is probably on the lower end. It's a little bit more conservative. And I definitely like him. I mean, I do still have him projected as a top 36, a wide receiver 3, right? Because when you look at the offense, you do have 94 targets on the board. I mean, Chris Godwin is going to miss time. The question is how much time, right? Real good chance he starts the season on PUP, misses at least 6 games or so. And when you look at Baker Mayfield of it all here, he did thrive in the short field, again, using PFF grades here, 91.9. That's good. If you're not into PFF grades, that's good. That's very good. That's in the blue for them. And he did well in the medium, 83.4. All right, so again, if they do go short field on Egbuka, maybe that means a lower ADOT, lower yards per reception, less receiving yards, but an even higher catch percentage. And 72% catch percentage, folks, is high. That is a high. That is an aggressive. That tells you how much I like him. The big thing for me, touchdown potential. I don't see the touchdown potential for Egbuka. Again, the way we saw him deployed at Ohio State within the context of this offense, right? So it's those two pieces working together. If he puts up 10 touchdowns, I will be so thrilled. I'll be so happy to be wrong on this. But when you're doing projections, you got to choose a lane here. And that's the lane that I've chosen on him. He's just behind Stephon Diggs, just ahead of J-Mo in the seasonal projections. Those are good wide receivers that you want this season on your fantasy team. You're playing them in the flex. You're playing him in your wide receiver spot when bye weeks or injuries happen, right? This is a good wide receiver. Just because I mentioned him fourth does not mean I hate Emeka Egbuka. And there is one more wide receiver that made it into the top 48, right? So a wide receiver 4 or better. He actually came in at wide receiver 42, and that is Jayden Higgins, the wide receiver for the Houston Texans. And I know what you're thinking. He didn't talk about Luther Burden. I still like Luther Burden. He didn't talk about Kyle Williams. Y'all know I like Kyle Williams, right? I had to put the cutoff somewhere. Those two guys and other rookie wide receivers I like, Deonta Thornton, Torrey Horton, those guys didn't quite make it into the video. But again, drop me a comment if you really like it. Maybe I'll piece together the wide receivers and the running backs that didn't make it onto this show. I can also break down the quarterbacks and the projections, but just one last time, you can just click on the link in the episode description and see all the projections right now. And if you want to get more Rookie Big Board action and you don't want to join the Patreon, there will also be a link to the free Rookie Big Board newsletter, where this past week I broke down my 28 big takeaways from week 1 of the preseason. There will be an issue of that newsletter that drops every Monday for the entire season, talking NFL, talking Devy, talking Dynasty, all of that really holistic coverage there. But let's get into Jayden Higgins here, because this is going to be an interesting one in the context of the Houston Texans offense, right? Higgins, the thing you need to know right away about his skill set, if you're not familiar, if you didn't watch his college tape, watched a lot of Iowa State tape, did also watch a lot of Ohio State tape, but we're talking about Iowa State. He works great over the middle of the field. And I think he worked better over the middle of the field than he did along the boundary, which sounds weird because he is a big-bodied wide receiver that in your head you put along the boundary, right? He's no threat to Nico Collins as an X wide receiver. That's just not his role. I think if the Texans really want to deploy him well, they're going to work him over the middle of the field. And CJ Stroud graded best over the middle of the field last season. So if you are a Jayden Higgins believer, that is what I would attach myself to. The skill set and what CJ Stroud did well in match up very complementary. The other thing that you should be excited about looking at this Houston offense is that the Texans were pass heavy last season. 570 passing attempts was tied for 11th most in the NFL. So they're top third in the NFL in passing attempts. And what do we got this year? I mean, lead running back Joe Mixon, we don't know what his status is. We don't know if he's going to be healthy. And y'all know I love Woody Marks. But you have to think that if Houston is running into the season with Nick Chubb and Woody Marks, they're going to be looking to be even more pass heavy this upcoming season, right? So that works well in his favor. Tank Dell out for the season. Stephon Diggs off to New Orleans. That's 135 vacated targets on the board. I think Jayden Higgins is going to get 91 of those targets. And I think he showed pretty good hands, 67% reception percentage. That's pretty good. 5 receiving touchdowns. That might be a little light for some folks, but I think that's realistic. I would be remiss if I did not use my Jayden Higgins time to also mention Jalen Noel, who I love. I've drafted over 75% exposure to Jalen Noel. I think that his skill set actually works better on the outside. The question for me all offseason is, how do these guys get used? It's on paper, it makes a lot more sense to just think Jalen Noel has to beat out Christian Kirk. I'm confident he does that. I'm confident that over the period of the season, maybe not week 1, but over the course of the season, Jalen Noel's beating out Christian Kirk. I'm sorry. I just refuse to believe any other argument. So Noel's either going to play on the outside, kind of a flanker wide receiver, inside, outside, or he's just going to play over the middle of the field. And we just talked about CJ Stroud over the middle of the field. So I'm very excited about Jalen Noel as well. Projections, you can see it here, 80 targets, 73% catch percentage, 4 receiving touchdowns. I'm in. I'm in on that because I think he could return even better. So if we're talking just seasonal, late round stash, man, you might not even have to draft him in an 16, 18 man league. You could just look for him on your waiver wires after week 1. I'm telling you, this is a guy that's going to be putting up points. Maybe he's just in your flex, but maybe he ends up being a wide receiver 3 type guy on your roster by the end of the season. Just had to slide him in there, had to work Jalen Noel in there because he is the type of guy that we identify for the rookie big board, along with the 5 wide receivers that we talked about on this episode, breaking down the projections. Again, if you want to see more projections type content, drop it in the comments. Let me know. Make sure you're subscribed. Free rookie big board, deep depth written content in the episode description. And for just $5 a month, you can get rankings, you can get Discord access, Devy, Dynasty, rookie rankings. We've already looked at 30 guys in the 2026 class. And of course, the full seasonal projections. Lots of good stuff available over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. Going to be back real soon. College season, NFL season. We are so close. It's about to fire up, and I'm going to be with you all season long, winning those fantasy football championships.